Hey, Ronnie here. Shall we make a game? So today we're in an unusual time due to external constraints and unusual circumstances. Obviously it's earlier in the day, meaning that it's very bright in here and I can barely see a damn thing. So I'm going to be trying to make this rooftop. Last time we kind of blocked it out, but we didn't really flesh it out. So step number one, I remember this is just too narrow. We need to widen this, maybe like a good 50%. So, wait, I can't see what I'm selecting. Wait, why isn't this selecting more than one thing? Maybe I need to merge these together a bit. That's more like it. Yeah, edge loops is what we're here for. Edge loops. Select all these. Okay, trying to work quickly here. So, not that far. That far. Yeah, let's widen them just a touch. There we go. Now we've got a bit more room to kind of pull the camera back and see a bit more of the scene. Now, this rooftop is really, really dark. It's kind of hard to see any of it. It might look a bit better when we haven't got this sort of like relatively light grey around it, but I actually went dark for a reason. That's we're going to have like the kind of scenario selector map on here, which is going to be kind of holographic. So it needs a dark background to play against. Otherwise, it will just disappear. So let's just duplicate the floor tiles. That's that done. Next up, let's finish off this air conditioner. Be selected. There it is. Okay, so we're going to need kind of like a back face on this. Not like a back face as in, you know, like a one that won't get cold, but we're going to need one that is slightly differently shaded, just so it looks like it is actually faced away from the light a bit. So let's move this vent over here, grab all you guys. And then move you back over here. Reload. We'll have to completely destroy the top texture by doing that, so let's sort that now. I could, in theory, have actually just flipped. Yeah, I'm actually going to do that. I'm just going to delete half this texture because despite the fact that we're not actually targeting a low-end platform, let's not waste resources for no reason. Now, there is a difference between that side, and there's kind of like a shadow being cast by the fact that it's kind of like, you know, like a raised object, and there's the primary light sources over here. So let's next up sort out the bottom of this. So set the cursor. Yep, and wherever UVs ended up over here. So it's here. How's that look? It's upside down. That's a good start. Okay, just a couple more of these. And okay, now at the moment we've got this weird effect where it's kind of got this kind of like double sort of edge here. It's because one of these is actually flipped. So let's just flip this one over. Does that look good? That looks better. Okay, next step. Let's come to here. We need to darken this slightly. So do we have a darker color than that isn't just complete pitch black? Whatever. Let's replace color. Let's just shuffle the whole thing down a single color. Or single shade, single tone, whatever it is. There we go. That produces a sort of effect. You know what? I'm just going to make a different palette for it, just because it needs to be darker, but not that much darker. Put a different palette in. Nope. Grab this, put it here. Grab this, put it here. Thank you. Right, and then we're just going to transfer the colors over using the color replace tool. This is probably one of my most used tools in the entire application. It's probably a much better way of doing the things I do with this thing. So we're just going to do the very, very simple thing. We're just going to reduce the value of, oh, no, I've got palette lock on again. Reduce the value of these a bit. And then see how that looks in scene. Okay, a bit more than that, a bit more. I'm always really, really afraid to really go in hard with the brightness changes. Bit more darkness. That's more like it. That gives us a bit of an impression of kind of like the sky, you know, behind lighting everything up. I might lighten this slightly because it looks kind of weird. It looks too dark. I am saying that now though, as I'm sitting in a relatively light space. But then again, maybe a lot of players will be playing this game in a relatively light space. Maybe I should accommodate that. Yeah, that looks okay. I might do a similar thing I've done for this and make a second palette for this kind of like, camera facing side. So yeah, that's going to be where our camera is. We do a couple more rows of these, I think. We're going to merge these together and I can just do the whole thing. Aha. All right, so next up, we're going to need a lot of clutter in here. So I can probably reuse these boxes, no problem. Or if I do need to make changes to them, they're going to be as simple as just a bit of a palette swap. So yeah, up to 4. I've got my 3D cursor still set, so let's change you to the medium point. Oh, that's right, I only textured one side of this, didn't I? Okay, we'll make do, So I'm going to, I was actually thinking about this. I was originally going to put a barrel here, and I think I'm going to put a trash can instead. A trash can makes no sense for a rooftop, but neither does a barrel, so... And a trash can might be reusable in other scenes in a way that a barrel wouldn't necessarily be. Yeah. I'm just thinking about what I'm going to do next. Okay, so yeah, we're going to have a wall here, and maybe just like some tiles on top of this, just to kind of give it a bit more kind of weight. Okay. I can probably get away with reusing these tiles for this wall. Will I do that? No, I won't. I'll use them on top of the wall, but I won't use them down there. Let's grab all of you tiles. And reuse these up here. All right, okay, that doesn't look great, but it'll do, given it's like right out of shot. And I'll also fill this in at some point with something. Next up, I need to put the kind of like wall along here. So again, I actually want it to be quite dark. I want it to block out a lot of this bright skyline, because I do not want this bright skyline kind of interfering with our with the hologram we're going to be placing in front of it. So, yeah, I was also going to do that trash can. I'll do the trash can first. Let's just steal this. Yeah, it was 4 meters up, wasn't it? Yep. And then we're going to texture it. We're going to texture it differently. We're going to make ourselves a trash can. So let's reuse this palette here. Maybe this one. Let's reuse this one. Okay, so it's going to be a bit bigger than that, I think. Very slightly wider. So let's widen it a couple of pixels and then adjust the scale in here so that the pixels are square again. Not that I can really see what I'm doing because it's, the texels are very dark. Okay, that's that sorted. And now we're going to draw a trash can. Let's put it there. Work out where the rough bounds are. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be just a space to work in. Oh, do you see that? I got it 1 pixel off. I'm getting better at this with time. Okay, so a trash can. Once again, draw it bright and then darken it once we've verified that the shape is right. So I'm going to do that kind of like, yeah. There we go. Classic American trash can. Yeah, there you go. That's what I'm looking for. Sides up like this. And yeah, kind of like, they're going to have like a rim kind of around the top. Might have made this too tall. I don't know. Perspective is completely wrong on that, and I'm completely here for it. Let's narrow it a little bit, and then kind of have like because they almost got like a handle on top, don't they? Yes, they do. Yes, they do. So draw that in as well. And, destroy everything in a single click. That's what we do around here. So slightly wider at the top, and then we start working like the shadow and stuff. So it's going to have kind of like a rim that has a bit of a shadow under it, like this. And then it's got those like, I think the corrugations, aren't they? Probably for strength. And just to make sure that any kind of like, any slimy, dirty rubbish you drop in the bin sticks to sticks to one of the complex interior shapes. All right. This will look absolutely terrible at the minute because I haven't shaded it, but we can get an idea for how it fits in the scene. Okay, so I need to reduce the kind of like perspective on it because we're generally going to have the camera like here or like here. And it looks kind of weird. There's that much of a curve on it because it's meant to be kind of not quite level with the camera, but near enough. So I'm just going to have to move the whole top up a bit. Okay, next question. Does that look any better? That's looking closer. That's looking closer. So let's narrow the top slightly. It's going to be a handle, so we need to kind of like a bit of occlusion under it just to really sell it. Okay, and next thing I'm going to do is rotate that slightly. Helps if I can see what I'm working on. Oh, that's weird. The rotation center's ended up all the way over there. Okay, let's... Origin to geometry, that's the one. That's the one. I'm going to put it right in the corner. Let's get the box a bit closer to it. All right. That should look kind of okay from most angles. Yeah, it's generally going to look okay from most sort of angles we'll be seeing things from. Just going to get my concept art open. Concept art, I say, as though it's not just a scribble in a notebook. Right, so I didn't have anything else really down here, and I had kind of like this sort of like looped fence. Or is that just like wooden? That's a wooden fence on top of a skyscraper rooftop. What's that all about? It's a bit weird. Yeah, this kind of like, sort of... Man, that's terrifying. I've never really been on a skyscraper rooftop, but I'm looking at that, and that's giving me kind of just nausea and vertigo just looking at that. How low that wall is, and how big a drop there is off the edge of it. Look at the size of a window by comparison to that edge. Oh. So yeah, that's actually a mix of kind of like solid walls, presumably brick, given the side of the building's brick, and terrifying railings. I'm sure are perfectly safe, but I'd definitely want some... I almost certainly need a bit of assistance getting over that. Oh, I've kind of messed that up a bit, haven't I? It needs to be way darker underneath there. Ah! Let's darken all these quite a lot, and then we can really go to town with some of the shading underneath here. Just really give it kind of the impression that it's a separate object. And it's kind of dirty. It's kind of doing the job of both. It's kind of like selling both aspects of this bin. And it's also going to get really dark towards the bottom because of the occlusion from the ground. Okay, and we're going to do the same from the top. How's that look? How's that look in context? That actually doesn't look bad. I feel like it needs a bit more contrast, so I might switch it off into its own palette. Let's do that now. Copy, paste. Again, Probably should have done this from the beginning, but we're going to be doing it now. Brightest color, brightest color. Has to be a quicker way to like transfer the entire palette like this. I know the answer isn't just use an unpaletized mode. So now it means I can do this and really dial in the colors just as I want it. Might get rid of this highlight color on the side entirely. Just a bit too much. And maybe put a bit real shadow in here as it's going to be right up against the top of the bin. A bit more down here. There we go. Let's darken the top a bit more. Again, it's just a touch too bright. In which I spend an entire stream pixeling a bin. There we go. I might add more shadow to the wall behind it, as it kind of looks a bit weird now, the fact there's almost kind of like no shadow there. Oh, did I do the wrong one? Where is that on the unwrap? It's there. Oh, okay. Okay, that needs to be way darker than that. Alrighty then. That's darker at least. It's the same kind of over here. And might make kind of like a couple of tiles to go there, just kind of like really put shadow behind it. Alright then. Back onto our air conditioner. Actually, the air conditioner's done. So next up I need to figure out what I'm going to put kind of here, along the back of here, just to stop, just make it so it doesn't look like someone could just walk off the edge. That would be terrible foreshadowing. All these. Should have snapped the cursor to something first. Should have put it in the right mode if I was going to use the 3D cursor. There we go. Right, and there we go. Now that should probably be at least 1 meter tall, right? I can't imagine you'd ever have a fence on the edge of a building that would be less than a whole meter tall. So that's now 1 meter tall. All right, now I have to figure out what I'm going to do with this, as I'm still not entirely sure. I was considering like doing something, because like just looking at this, I'm like, do I do like a solid wall? Do I do kind of like a sort of like a railing? Because it does seem to be 50-50. Like some buildings do one, some buildings do the other, and there doesn't really seem to be a huge amount of pattern to it. I mean, this one actually has like 50-50, as in like they've got concrete and fence in, kind of like, I might do that. That'd be quite visually interesting. So kind of like concrete to here, maybe a block of concrete in the middle, and then a section of fence either side. That'd be quite good visually, I think. Right. And then I can actually reuse some of the concrete pieces over here to make this. Okay. So new palette, I think. We're getting quite a lot of colors here. Again, it's a good thing I'm not actually building this for a retro console, or I'd probably be approaching the end of my colors by now. So 8 pixels across, 8 pixels across. Ah! And then this tile, I think I'm going to have this as the upper, lower, and these are going to be the left. And then, how many tiles high is that? It's 2 tiles high. Okay, so I only need the top and the bottom, I don't need anything else. And left, middle, right. Pretty simple. And do our old classic, shadow at the bottom, bit of a gradient up, and then just kind of like a bit of a sort of like a stippled sort of look all the way across here. So, oh, actually, maybe I should, no, I was just kind of thinking out loud, but I'm just going to kind of like sort of doodle on this a bit. Now, this does have an airbrush tool, kind of like the one in Paint. I think I need to set the radius a bit bigger. Like, no? Have I gotten the... Oh, I didn't actually select the airbrush tool. Gotta be careful with it though, it really does spray fast. That'll probably do. And I might also just do a very slight touch of the darker colour, just so it's kind of there, you know? And then we're going to go to a straight up highlight along the top, just so you can see kind of like the light hitting the top. Right. Is it the right way around? Yes, it actually is the right way around. I can't believe it. I in fact refuse to believe it. Let's grab all. Oh, why did I put that there? Because that was actually the one I wasn't going to. That was the one I was going to have a bit of fence on. Okay. Oh, I'm actually going to need more variance to this. I'm going to need like ones open to the air on the side as well as going into kind of the wall. So, kind of like occlusion going into the corner. Kind of like that. That's good. And then just draw some sort of like speckles in there, just to kind of like give it a bit more grit. So you kind of like coarse concrete. Oh, I almost had it then. Where's it gone? There it is. All right, let's do another variant of these. Go across. Shade up the left edge. Darken it slightly less. Oh, hang on, I crossed over into a different palette then. Oops. Wait, what color is this? Where? How did they end up with this color? It's nowhere near where I am. Let's correct that. Let's correct that. We're sticking to this four tone thing, even if it makes no sense for the platform we're supposedly building this for. Oh god, this stream's going fast. Okay, I'm going to do another couple of those on the right. They're going to get used around there. Actually, maybe I could get away with just flipping those. Let's give that a go. I will snap the cursor first this time. Not leave myself with two piles of polygons intersecting each other with no way of distinguishing them other than to keep clicking until I get the one I want. That will have flipped, so let's flip it back. And then let's put the corner on that. And we just want to rotate that around a bit. All right, okay. And grab all of these, turn them into the bottom piece. Rotate them again because they're the wrong way up. Now they're completely the wrong way up. There we go. I might need a more shadowed version of that for that to look kind of like natural with an object in front of it. Anyway, let's duplicate it up. Oh, actually, maybe this entire texture is just way too bright. That's the real problem. It's just way too bright for the context. Yeah, it looks better. It still looks very wrong. I definitely need to do a variant of this to go there. Right, now I was going to do another variant over here that's kind of like got a bit of light down the side as though it's kind of got an edge facing the open sky. Yeah. Wow, it is warm today, eh? Okay, now we can hide that. And hide those two. And then, that gives a rough idea of where this is going. So we're basically going to have like a piece of fence there and a piece of fence. I might widen this again, just to give me a bit more. It's already pretty big though. Because I'm thinking about what's actually going to be on this rooftop. We're basically going to have like the protagonist on this side, and we're basically going to have the kind of like angel over here, and then we're going to have like a holographic sort of map in between them. Actually needs to be quite a wide stage. You're probably not going to see much of this clutter at the edges. I might also, just to break up the tiling on the floor a bit, like make a few papers and stuff, just sort of like sat there, just to break up the tiling a bit. Yeah, I'll probably do that. Let's unwrap these. And I can probably flip them. Wait. Oh yeah, okay, I was just getting a bit confused because there's not actually a huge amount of difference between the middle piece and the edge piece, and I thought I'd somehow texture with the edge with the middle piece. Okay, that's looking okay. Do the same to these. Ah, I've got a mirror line there, that's not great. Yeah, I hate it when you mirror a texture and you get this kind of like thing where you get like details that are obviously repeated across the two halves. Let's see if I can just do something about that. It's mostly because of this group of pixels here. So if I just basically like make that a bit more of just kind of like a vague splodge like that, it might look a bit more natural. Or it might not. That doesn't look great either. How's that look? That looks a bit more acceptable. Just avoided like having anything like bright in there. Okay. Where's the center line of this? It's there, isn't it? Yeah. If I then grab these and then flip them around using the 3D cursor, it should, there you go, flip and put them on the other side. Okay. There's not going to be a top edge on this, but that's kind of fine, I guess. I'm going to do the kind of railing texture next, which is, I'll put it there. What are these? Where are these gone? Oh, they're over there. Okay, I'm just going to bunch these together because they're not kind of like separable tiles. They're all going to be used together. And also going to do the same on this side. Going to use the exact same set of textures. Flip it over. Yeah, again, I'm probably going to widen this by about a tile just in the center and on the edges, just so you get a bit more room for the kind of map display and things. Okay. I'm going to do my classic thing where I'm going to reuse a palette and then go, actually, no. Again, this is going to be 16 by 16, which is that much. Okay, now what kind of pattern am I actually going to do for the railings here? Because I would look at these, like these are kind of like sort of like, I will say it looks like sheet music. It's got, you know, like long bars going horizontally and then short bars kind of like separating it into, well, bars. This, I think, is something a bit more, I guess, Art Deco, which isn't really what I'm going for, so not really inspired by that. This is kind of like glass edge, this is kind of like fancy, this is kind of like a penthouse, which is not what we're going for. Yeah, the common thing seems to be kind of like these horizontal bars, so I'm going to do something vaguely like that. Although, yeah, it's just going to have to be a lot wider, that's fine. Let's see here. Let's do that. We have that conundrum again where it's like, I don't really want these kind of like supports to be on both sides because then you end up with like a double width support that you end up with kind of like it being 2 pixels wide, which looks a bit weird. It's going to be a very strangely blank bit of texture sheet, but it will do. No, actually, no, I will actually put the pixels on either side because I'm not going to be tiling this. Just add a bit of highlight to it, just around the edges. How does that look in context? That looks kind of okay. I might actually drop it down a few pixels just as a bit of height contrast between it and the kind of surrounding. Yeah, there we go. That looks bad. That looks okay. Doesn't look great. Looks okay. Maybe I have like a single row of pixels on the bottom just to kind of hint at there being some like structure there. Yeah, that looks better. That looks better. The camera's never going to get super close to that, so that'll probably do for that. Now I was going to widen the rooftop. Am I still going to do that? Don't know. I guess I might have the character up in the corner. Let's just get the characters up there and see how they kind of look in context. So these guys are not going to be T-posing in-game generally. So the fact they might be a bit too wide for the set is actually kind of fine. This guy's going to be hovering because he's a spooky, spooky angel. See, there's actually like plenty of room there to kind of like have a map sort of display here. Thinking about it, I haven't actually implemented like blend modes or anything like that into the engine. Like it does kind of like cut out transparency, but something like a hologram, I probably want to be like an additive blend, right? And I just haven't really built the framework to do that yet. Contrast between characters in the background, about as much of the problem up here as it was downstairs. So I'm probably going to have to think about that again. Okay, let's think about sky, because the sky is a bit, it means I can't really, at the moment, I can't really kind of tilt the camera either way without exposing bits of the sky. And the whole sky is like that weird kind of glowy purple. It's like, was it William Gibson said? It's like a TV tuned to a dead channel. And it's not really meant to be. Let's just repeat it a few more times. I might make a variant of this just to be a bit less obviously repetitive. Yes, like when it gets a bit more out of shot, it kind of like say darkens the edges or something. So yeah, let's edit the, let's edit the topmost rows on this. Let's, oh, it needs another color, doesn't it? Maybe I can just go to black and then darken this as appropriate. How's that looking? Okay, yeah, okay. Actually, you know what? This would actually fix a problem I have, in that the skybox is kind of like fighting with foreground objects if I darken the skybox a bit. Oops. And I can saturate it a bit more on the way down just to kind of like, you know, retain some of that kind of punch it has at the moment. And let's darken these. We're darkening every palette now. Game will just be entirely black by the end of the prototyping. It'll just be there'll be nothing there. You won't be able to see anything at all. Okay, that kind of works. That kind of like helps the characters stand out a bit more. And the sky looks less weird now. That's good. So I might put like a moon up there or something, just as, you know, something a bit more interesting than this repeating kind of like skyline. And I was also going to do the sort of papers down here, wasn't I? So I've got about, how much have I got? Okay, we're 34 minutes in, so I've got 25 minutes left, roughly. Let's make the moon. Again, new palette. Try and keep it over here with the other sky stuff, because I am going to be dividing this up into separate textures at some point, just for kind of practicality reasons more than anything else. But for now, they're all on one sheet, just so I can kind of like adjust palettes across the board quite easily. Speaking of which, I'm just going to, this color here is too close to this. Let's just adjust that down a bit. I think I've probably gone back on these like wallpaper colors about 15 times. And the problem is I don't really have like a nice color that's like, that one's too dark and that one's too bright. I'm going to have to manually adjust these in RGB. As I think the, I believe that the value is, yeah, I think it's out of 100, which means that it could actually skip over quite a few RGB values as you adjust it up and down. All right, okay. Let's also adjust that curtain a bit. Doing a bit of whole scene palette editing right now. And this is why I wanted it all in one texture and kind of like all in one palette, because it means I can just really go through and kind of like tweak all the colors and make sure they all sit together nicely, rather than having to dart around between hundreds of different files. Need more shadow behind this for sure, but I'm going to see if I can put some papers down next, just to kind of like make the floor look a bit more interesting. So I think I already textured some paper here, so I might try and reuse that, although that said, that might be a bit too bright. This meant to be a bit darker up here than it was downstairs in the apartment, which is a bit higher, a bit further away from the city lights. I guess I also need to model the city map at some point, which is going to be a bit tough given I don't really have a definitive list of places you're actually going to be able to go. It's also not going to match the city skyline, but I think that's actually fine. You know what? I might actually stop there for the roof for now, just because we've got enough there that it'll do for the game, and I need to be careful for time in this because we are, how many streams in are we now? We are 8 days in out of 60, and we've barely got anything done, realistically speaking. So I'm going to want a kind of like a cinema environment here. So I'm thinking, you know, those kind of like stereotypical red seats that you see in a cinema, and cinema or theater. Yeah, those red seats that you never actually see in a cinema, at least in this part of the world. And then yeah, they've always got like spotlights on the walls whenever there isn't a movie on. Whoa, that is cool. That is crazy. Okay, don't go down that rabbit hole. Don't go down that rabbit hole. Stay on task. Stay on task. So yeah, I need to think about exactly how much you're going to lay this out as regards to a scene. So I'm just going to swap around to GIMP and add a new layer, and white. Right. So I've been thinking about this, and the way I'm actually going to have it work is that like the kind of angel takes the protagonist to a scene, and it's sort of like after the kind of like conflicts have sort of happened, and there'll be evidence kind of there, so you can kind of walk around, inspect it, that kind of thing, because that'll give you something gameplay other than just talking. I feel like just watching a cutscene of a conflict happening and then just being able to sort of, it would be gameplay, but I feel like it'd be more interesting if you could actually look around and if you had the opportunity to miss things. I feel like that would actually have a big impact. Like maybe you could get to the end of the scene and the angel would be like, did you not notice that? Because that's actually important. Now, in a cinema, of course, like you'd normally have kind of like, you know, rows and rows and rows and rows and rows of seats, but we're almost kind of like going for point and click adventure. So we need some space. So it probably makes sense for it to be on the front row. Well, not the front row, but kind of like, yeah, one. You normally have kind of like the actual sort of front row down here with like the, you know, the really spaced apart seats. And then you kind of have like the stairwell going up here, just, you know, vaguely. And then like you normally have, you know, the first row of normal seats here, and second row, whatever, third row, whatever. And they go back to like, you know, 50 or something. But then like, you've normally got that front row of kind of like sort of premium seats, right? And I'm thinking it's going to happen there, just so you've got this big empty space here for the characters to kind of stand and move around in. Bar up here, have the door over here. So there's quite a few assets here. You have like the wall with the spotlights on it, the door, back wall, which we can probably leave completely black. Maybe we have kind of like the projectionist booth up here. Not that that really makes sense in like year, like, I don't know, 2050, wherever this game's set. Oops. I don't know what I just did, but I did not mean to do that. Anyway, let's have another look. Where did those key presses go? Who knows? No, I want to be standing by the screen and looking up at the seating. I did have an audience though. Oh, see, that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. You got like the stairwell under there, that kind of thing. Right, so let's switch back to this. Maybe I should start naming these objects. Is this the whole rooftop? Yeah, let's merge these objects together and call that rooftop. Ah! Learn to spell, that's a good idea. This background's all one object, isn't it? Yep, so we can call that the cityscape. And then, what else do we have hidden? Oh, that's the reference. We can get rid of that now. We've modeled that room and the characters in it. Huh? There we go. Oh, yeah, and all my other objects are called chair, which is handy. Oh, wait. The rooftop and the living room, so the apartment are actually all one object. Let's fix that. Let's separate those out. There should not be one object. And let's merge everything else into it, because we can separate them out later if we need them. Oh, missed the curtains. I might later on separate the curtains out just so we can have them animated. Oh, wait, how did I joined them back together. How did I do that? Oh, okay. I didn't separate the curtains from the rest of the... because I've got them hidden in edit mode, so I couldn't actually select them to separate them from the rest of the rooftop. Okay, that's the apartment. One of these cubes is probably going to be... What's this? What's this object? What is it? I think that might be an empty object, but I have absolutely no idea. Going to do a protagonist and T-pose. So for animation, I'm actually just going to make separate models and just move the vertices around a bit. That will mean that the animation system in the engine will just basically be like a flip book. Might look a bit weird, but given we've got the whole sort of NES Game Boy aesthetic, it might really work. What is this? What is this object? It is actually empty. Well, it's gone now. If I ever need it, I can get it out of the Git history. So, again, we're going to go bigger still with the cinema, right? And like, this kind of feels like a scale creep in that each room is getting a bit bigger than the previous, but it is kind of justified, you know? So yeah, let's start from the apartment and let's hide the rooftop and everything else. No, actually, let's start with the rooftop, because the rooftop's got this nice simple floor that we can use as a starting point. Move it back down to 0. And yeah, what kind of floors tend to be, you know, we don't see them because they're, you know, like the lights tend to be low, but they tend to be quite patterned and chaotic, don't they? Like, what is that? That is crazy. You would never have that in your living room. Yeah, that one's kind of like, that's more like what you kind of expect. It's kind of like a sort of like, it's not quite black, but it's kind of like a very sort of like dark sort of greenish, very, very, very slightly green tinted sort of grey. So, more palette. If you can keep dragging that forever, huh? There's probably a limit. Probably a limit. Yeah, so I'm going for this kind of like red chair kind of thing. So, need to stop messing around and just get making colors. More saturation. As per usual, I will end up making this way too dark and editing it later on. Okay, well, so what's kind of like a vague outline of enough? Oh, that's kind of like just a vector art. No, we won't be using like a primary source here. So yeah, basically just red boxes, I guess. So how big are those going to be? I mean, the base is going to be about 1 meter off the ground, right? And the back is going to be about 1 meter tall. Vaguely, give or take. So let's start from there. Let's get rid of everything that might have, say, some unique textures on it. So we've got that one blank texture on it. Oh, these are all separate. I never merged them together. Oops. That will actually be fixed, and yeah, that won't actually waste the resources because on import, the importer will actually merge them all back together. That's like sort of chair colors. Let's go for that kind of like I'm gonna go for like a slightly zany kind of like floor. Just give me kind of like a sort of desaturated red with kind of like sort of goldish spots you sometimes I think like goldish spots just kind of representing kind of like some kind of crazy pattern. Saturate that more, just as a bit more contrast between the gold and the red. And let's do this in the opposite corner, just so they're far away from everything else, they're difficult to confuse with everything else. Yeah, that kind of wine red, just nonsense you would never see anywhere but a public space. Again, trying to do things quickly today, so we're just going to use the airbrush tool. And same with the black. Let's adjust these levels slightly, see if we can get it to look a bit less weird than that. Oh, did I do the whole thing? I did the whole thing one color. Oops. Wait, how hasn't this ended up this color? What's going on here? What color is this really? Get stuck. I think I might have grabbed the wrong color from somewhere else on the palette again. I've done that a few times. I don't have this in any kind of like crazy mode, do I? No. Spray over it a few times to make sure we get some nice even coverage. That should do it. Although that's got a lot of sort of like horizontal lines in it. That will like look really weird when it's tiled. And then let's do kind of like let's do like a regular pattern, something like that. That probably isn't going to look good at like first attempt, but we can give it an adjustment later on. Yep, that predictably looks absolutely awful. Fewer dots. I think just fewer dots. Aha, yeah, that's more like it. It's kind of got that kind of like sort of crazy pattern thing they always go for. Now we've got like an edge of this that's quite dark and it's making the tiling really obvious, so I'm just going to put a couple of bright pixels in there. Oh, is that not where that was? That's a bit less obvious. That's better. Okay. And as per usual, we're going to be doing like a version of this that kind of like fades to black towards the edge. Oh, I've kind of got these out of order. That's kind of weird. I wonder if I've managed to do that. Wait, again, we've ended up with just random colors from all over the... What is going on here? How are we ending up with all these random colors? Right? How is it picking colors up here when all of our colors are down here? It's wasting time. Sometimes the dark colors are come all the way up there and I've got one down here. What is going on there? I wonder if there's something special about the airbrush tool that does slightly unusual things maybe. Swap these two colors around. Just so they're kind of like in palette and luminance order. Okay, we're almost at the end today. Just in case it isn't obvious, I do have somewhere to be today. Putting it off as long as possible. Because I am a responsible adult. Okay. So we're going to be seeing these seats from the front. Unfortunately, most of these pictures face the screen, and that's the opposite of what I want to be looking at. Let's have a look at projection booth, because that might give us a camera angle looking up at the projection booth from the screen. No, it won't. I mean, even that isn't even looking at the projection booth. Okay, let's try Wikipedia. Wikipedia normally has really good photos, doesn't it? There we go, movie theatre, there we go. Again, these pictures are all looking towards the screen. I want to see the other side. Arrgh. Okay, that gives us a good... Now, actually, looking at this has made me think of something I didn't think of before, which is that the seats are going to be folded up because there's going to be nobody sitting in them. Aha. I knew there was something that I was just kind of like grasping at and trying to remember. So we're going to have a row of seats going in front and a row of seats behind and quite a few rows going up. So that gives us... Let's stretch credulity a bit and put quite a bit of distance between this row and this row. Yeah, that's like more distance than you realistically have, but it is a video game. Actually, I've just thought what I should probably be doing is, just for like the sake of editing, just to get it done more quickly, is that I should probably separate this out into its own object and then tile the object using, where is it? Array modifier. And yeah, move it back slightly. And then we can use another array modifier and we can use a constant offset again of, what are we doing here? Z-axis, 5. No, actually it's going to be 1, isn't it? Because we need a gap between them. Let's make it 2. Let's make it 2 meters. And no offset in that axis. It's going to be minus because the rows are going backwards, not forwards. And then I don't know how much height there tends to be between each row of seats in a cinema, but like I'm thinking that like that's probably about right. We're going to need way more rows than this. Oh, sorry, columns. It's columns, isn't it? Okay, 7 minutes left. 7 minutes left. We don't have a lot of time, but we can still get a few things done. So, thinking about it, a seat's going to be way wider than... A seat's actually going to be like 1.5 meters wide, isn't it? So I'm actually going to have to change this offset to 1.5 and then tile it that way. Okay, this is actually massive, but let's just let's put a character in there and see if it looks vaguely right, because this looks kind of massive, but no, I think that's actually about right. You think about how wide one tends to be. Let's reduce it to say 10 columns. That's, yeah, it's a small theatre, but still believable. Okay. Next step. Rotate around the 3D cursor. Let's make the front of the chairs. Yep, okay. And then, I'm actually just going to merge these together into a single kind of like run. Oh, here's a good picture. So yeah, like they're kind of like, they have like a bit underneath. So I might actually want to, yeah, I'm going to break all these tiling rules. We're not going to do any of this using tiles because the chairs themselves are kind of effectively tiles. And then we subdivide along there. Yeah, that'll do. And then straight it backwards. Say 1 meter, that's probably enough. And then upwards about 1 meter. And then, oh yeah, I need to actually fold this up, don't I? So it's going to end up being a lot of polygons. I mean, it should be fine, but that's going to be a lot of polygons. Do I just simplify this like a lot? I think I do. Let's get rid of that. Let's texture that kind of like indent instead. And I kind of want to hint at the fact that this is meant to be kind of folded up. So we also want arms on these. So let's consider here. Subdivide. Let's bring these up. And then remove the doubles just to kind of like give us simpler geometry to work with. Drag it forwards very, very slightly. And that's how we're going to hint at them being folded up. We're basically just going to sort of texture on a bit of, folded up kind of like furniture onto this, which will probably do the job. Let's move these forwards just so we're not having to think about them at all when it's, yeah, that'll do. It doesn't need to be perfect. It really doesn't. It just needs to be, it just needs to fill the space. Merge by distance. Join it all back up again. We can get rid of the center edge as probably not going to be tiling it in that way. And that will probably do. Do you have any of the geometry in here we can get rid of? Yeah, get rid of these. As per usual, the hard bit is always just kind of like putting down that, kind of like putting down that first few vertices and going like, I'm definitely putting that there. I was kind of getting over that sort of fear of like, well, what if I'm putting it in the wrong place? It looks stupid, and it's just like, well, let it happen. That will probably do, yeah. Are these going to need top faces? And I'm thinking not, because the camera will never be at an angle where you'd be able to see a top face. So I can just not put one in. Let's get rid of this edge loop. Get rid of that. Oh, no, go to last. And let's turn all these tries back into quads. Welcome back to the wall of the quad. And let's do a quick unwrap job on this. So how am I going to unwrap this? Oh, I need to fix these as well. I've got weird sort of like skinny triangles in here. Oh! Yeah, I've got like really, really, really narrow triangles in here. I'm just going to do another by distance. And I'm going to increase the threshold to say 1 meters. 0.1 meters? I didn't get rid of anything. There's like a clean... There's like a clean up. Did that do anything? There is a thing in here to like clean up the mesh that usually fixes things like that. Oh, I guess I'll do it. I'll do it by hand. We've got a face there. Get rid of that one. Got a face there. Get rid of that one. Looks like we've got another face still. Let's subdivide these two. Oh, just get rid of these faces actually. Ah. And then we can join these back up into geometry that we can then texture later on. Oh wait, we still got some kind of weird edge there. What's that? Still got weird random edges. Like trying to do this quickly has made a right mess. Isn't it always the way? Okay. Let's try and figure out how we're going to... Oh, wait, I can merge that into that. I can eliminate some polygons with basically no consequences. Okay. Let's triangulate these two. How am I going to unwrap this? I'm probably going to put edges there, there, and there, and there, and there. And all the way around there. Because I think... Oh, I missed some edges there. I think it should flatten out nicely. We've got a slight overlap between the top and the arm and the front, but we can just fudge that. We can just, distort the UV slightly. It's no problem. And I am out of time. Well, we've actually made a horrifying mess by unwrapping that like that. Thank you very much for watching. Tomorrow, as usual, will be at 7 p.m. and Saturday, as usual, will be at 9 a.m. So have a great evening.